It began, as strange journeys often do, quite simply. I found myself standing before an elevator. The doors slid open with a soft whoosh, a gentle invitation. Inside, another man already stood. He was quiet, his gaze fixed forward, as if he knew the destination. I did not. I stepped in and the doors closed, sealing us within the small ascending space. There was no music, no indication of floors passing, just a smooth, silent lift upwards. It felt like we were going somewhere very important, beyond the usual floors of an ordinary building, towards something I couldn't yet name, but felt deep in my bones. The air in the elevator was still, yet charged with a quiet anticipation. I looked at the man beside me. He didn't acknowledge my presence, not out of rudeness, I thought, but because he was engrossed in his own journey, his own thoughts about where this ascent might lead. We were two separate souls, sharing a momentary passage. I wondered if he felt the same pull I did, a sense of being drawn towards a significant meeting, a revelation perhaps. The silence wasn't awkward. It was a shared space of waiting, of wondering what lay beyond the next opening of those polished metal doors. We rose and rose. It seemed like an eternity, yet no time at all. The movement was so fluid it was easy to forget we were moving, until a slight pressure change reminded me. I thought about all the elevators I had been in before, elevators going to offices, to apartments, to hospital rooms. They all had a purpose, a known end. This one felt different. This was a journey into the unknown, a passage to a place not listed on any directory. My heart beat a little faster, not with fear, but with a curious sort of excitement, the kind you get before a great discovery. Suddenly, the smooth ascent was broken. There was a slight jolt, a change in the hum of the machinery. It wasn't alarming, just different. The man beside me remained still, his focus unwavering. I glanced at the floor indicator, but there was none, only the soft glow of the single button we hadn't pressed. It was as if the elevator knew its own way, guided by an unseen hand. We were simply passengers, carried along by a current stronger than ourselves, moving steadily towards whatever awaited us at the top of this mysterious ride. Just as I thought we might be nearing our destination, the elevator slowed. It didn't stop completely, but it hesitated, as if considering something. Then I saw it. Through a small reinforced window in the elevator door, a creature appeared. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen or even imagined. It wasn't frightening in a monstrous way, but profoundly strange, a being from a different kind of existence. Its form was shifting, difficult to focus on, like looking at heat rising from a summer road. It seemed to want to join us, to enter our ascending sanctuary. The creature pressed against the outside of the doors. Its shadowy limbs, if you could call them that, fumbled for a way in. There was a desperation in its movements, a yearning to be part of our journey. I felt a strange mix of pity and apprehension. The man beside me finally shifted, his gaze turning towards the struggling entity, but his expression remained unreadable. The elevator doors, however, were unyielding. They were designed for passage, but also, it seemed, for exclusion when necessary. This threshold was not for everyone, or perhaps not for everything. It clawed and pushed, its form almost seeping through the tiny gaps, but the strong metal held. The creature let out a silent cry, a wave of despair that I felt rather than heard. It was a profound moment, watching this being strive so hard for something it could not attain. It made me wonder about all the unseen struggles, the silent yearnings that happen just beyond our perception, just outside the doors of our own limited understanding. What was it seeking? And why was it denied entry to this particular passage? These were questions without immediate answers. Then, as smoothly as it had slowed, the elevator resumed its upward journey. The creature was left behind, its form receding as we ascended further. It simply got stuck, unable to pass through the barrier that separated its world from whatever lay ahead for us. I watched it go, a fleeting image of longing. There was a sense of relief, but also a touch of sadness. The doors had held, and our journey continued, but the memory of that strange, excluded being lingered in the quiet air of the elevator car. Finally, the elevator came to a gentle stop. The doors opened not with a mechanical sound, but with a soft sigh like a breath being released. We stepped out, not into a hallway but directly into a room. The first thing that struck me was the light. It was bright, incredibly bright, yet it didn't hurt my eyes. It was a warm, inviting glow, like the light from a massive, unseen fireplace. It filled every corner of the space, chasing away all shadows, creating an atmosphere of profound peace and serenity. It felt like stepping into a place where only good things could happen. The room itself was vast, but it didn't feel empty or overwhelming. The source of the light was not apparent. It seemed to emanate from the very walls, from the air itself. There was a gentle hum, almost imperceptible, like distant, harmonious music. The man who had shared the elevator ride with me walked a few steps forward and then stood still, looking around with what seemed like quiet reverence. I understood the feeling. This was not an ordinary place. It was a space that commanded respect, that invited contemplation and awe. In the center of this luminous room stood a table. It was a long wooden table, simple in its design, yet possessing an ancient, timeless quality. It was made of dark, rich wood, polished smooth by time or by countless hands. There were no chairs around it, at least not that I could see from where I stood. It stretched far into the distance, its end almost lost in the soft, bright light. It was clearly the focal point of the room, a silent testament to gatherings, to shared moments, to decisions made, or perhaps to things simply being. The atmosphere was one of stillness, but not an empty stillness. It was a stillness full of presence, full of unspoken stories. I felt a sense of calm wash over me, a feeling of being in exactly the right place at the right time, even though I had no idea where here was, or why I had been brought to this particular destination. The warmth of the light, the solidity of the ancient table, the peaceful air, it all combined to create a sense of being welcomed, of being home in a place I had never known before. As my eyes adjusted further to the remarkable light, I noticed something else, something truly astonishing. Floating above the long wooden table were worlds, not paintings or sculptures of worlds, but actual miniature planets suspended in the air as if by magic. They glowed with their own internal light, some blue and green, others fiery red, some swirling with clouds of gas. Each one turned slowly, serenely, a silent cosmic ballet playing out above the ancient wood. It was a sight of such beauty and wonder that it took my breath away. My gaze drifted from one floating sphere to another. Each was unique, a tiny universe unto itself. I wondered about the lives, the stories contained within each of them. Then my attention was drawn to one particular world at the far end of the table. It was small, predominantly blue and white, with swirls of brown and green. Circling this tiny globe was an even tinier airplane, leaving a faint silvery trail. It was a familiar sight, an echo of my own world, of human endeavor and travel. My heart skipped a beat. With a jolt of recognition, I realized what I was seeing. That little blue and white sphere with the tiny airplane was Earth, our Earth. It was nestled among these other, perhaps equally magnificent worlds, but it held a special place. It was positioned closest to the head of the long table, the place of honor, the spot where one might imagine God, or the source of all this light and creation, would sit. To see our world, so familiar yet so transformed in this context, was deeply moving. It looked so fragile yet so precious. Standing there, witnessing this surreal and beautiful scene, I felt a profound sense of wonder. What did it mean for Earth to be so close to that presumed seat of the divine? Was it a sign of special favor, of a unique connection? Or was it simply how I perceived it in this dream, a reflection of my own human perspective? Perhaps being close to God wasn't about a physical location, but about understanding our place, our interconnectedness, our smallness, and our significance all at once. The dream ended there, but the feeling, the awe, and the quiet questions remained with me long after I opened my eyes.